Welcome back, deep divers. We're diving deep today, and I mean deep, into the art of narration for game masters.
Yeah, if you're running tabletop RPGs, this one's for you.
Absolutely. We're talking about those techniques that truly bring your game world to life.
Painting a picture with words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for this deep dive, we've got some fantastic source material to pull from.
We've got excerpts that focus on specific narration techniques, and we even have a whole podcast episode dedicated to this topic.
It's amazing how much there is to unpack when it comes to narration.
Oh, yeah. It's more than just reading what's in the adventure book.
It's about weaving a story that captivates your players.
And keeps them on the edge of their seats.
That's the goal. So let's get into it. One of the first things that jumped out at me from our sources was this idea of leading by example with enthusiasm.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like when you're excited as the game master,
Yeah.
it sets the tone for the whole table.
Totally. Your energy becomes infectious.
Right. If you're describing a tense encounter with a monster and you're leaning in, your voice is getting a little higher. The players are going to feel that.
It draws them in.
And then one of our sources even mentioned how it creates this awesome feedback loop.
Oh, yeah. The more excited you are,
Yeah.
the more likely your players are to get into it, too, and start contributing their own vivid descriptions.
It becomes this collaborative storytelling experience.
Exactly. And there's this great tip that I picked up about incorporating your players' descriptions into the outcome of actions.
Oh, interesting.
So instead of just saying, you hit the goblin, you say, just as you described, you swing your sword with a warrior's grace, and the blade connects with a sickening thud against the goblin's shield.
Oh, I love that. It makes it so much more personal.
It really does.
And it shows you're paying attention to what they're saying.
Exactly. You're building on their creativity.
Now, here's something that might seem counterintuitive.
Okay.
Our sources also stressed the power of brevity.
Hmm.
It sounds odd, right? You'd think more description is always better.
Yeah, you'd think so.
But they made this really compelling point.
What's that?
If you go on and on with these long, drawn-out descriptions,
Yeah.
players can actually start to tune out.
They get lost in the weeds.
They lose track of what's important.
The forest for the trees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the key is to be concise
Give them just enough information to spark their imagination
and keep them engaged.
without overwhelming them.
Now, speaking of overwhelming players, one of our sources brought up this danger of over-describing insignificant details.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like, if you spend 5 minutes describing a rusty bucket in the corner of a dungeon,
Yeah.
players are going to think that bucket's important.
Right. They'll be like, there's got to be a secret door behind that bucket.
Or a hidden key or something.
Exactly. And then they spend the whole session focused on this unimportant bucket.
When they should be dealing with the bigger threats.
Like the dragon that just bursts through the wall.
So it's a balancing act, right? You want to give enough detail,
Mm-hmm.
but not so much that you distract them.
And on the flip side, you don't want to leave out crucial information.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if there's a chasm in front of them with a rickety rope bridge,
Yeah.
you need to mention that before they try to cross it.
Because their characters would see it.
Right. They wouldn't just blindly walk off a cliff.
So you need to give the players that information.
It's all about what their characters would realistically know and perceive.
But here's a cool nuance that came up.
Oh, like nuances.
One of the sources talked about not always giving just the most strategically important information.
Interesting.
Because if you do that, players can fall into this trap of metagaming.
Oh, yeah. Where they use their knowledge as players
Yeah.
to make assumptions about the game world.
Like, oh, the GM just described this one specific item in detail. It must be important.
It must be a clue.
Right, so to avoid that, you can throw in little bits of atmosphere and enticement.
Oh, I love that.
Things that add to the mood and pique their curiosity.
Without necessarily being crucial to the plot.
Exactly. So, like, instead of just describing the path through the forest,
Yeah.
you might mention the faint scent of wildflowers carried on a gentle breeze.
Or the sound of bird song in the distance.
Those details create a sense of place,
They immerse the players in the world.
and they might even lead them to explore areas they wouldn't have otherwise.
Because now they're intrigued by the wildflowers or the bird song.
Exactly. And speaking of creating a sense of place, our sources really emphasize the importance of going beyond just visual descriptions.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about engaging all the senses.
Smell, taste, touch.
Everything. Think about the temperature of a room,
Yeah.
the texture of the walls,
The quality of the light.
whether it's dim and shadowy or bright and harsh.
And don't forget about smells.
Smells are so powerful.
They can instantly transport you to another place.
One of our sources gave this great example of a dungeon with a faint metallic tang in the air.
Ooh, that's good.
It immediately suggests the presence of blood
And danger.
without you having to explicitly say it.
It's subtle, but effective.
And it adds so much to the atmosphere.
It makes it feel real.
Like you're actually there.
And what I love about this sensory detail approach
Yeah.
is that you can use it to create these really evocative contrasts.
Oh, interesting.
Like imagine a ruined city overgrown with vines and crumbling buildings.
Yeah.
But then you describe a single vibrant flower pushing its way through the cracks in the pavement.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It creates this feeling of hope and resilience.
Amidst all the decay.
Exactly. And that's something that players will remember.
It sticks with them.
Because it's unexpected.
The little touch of beauty.
In a world that's otherwise harsh and unforgiving.
Now, to really bring these descriptions to life, our sources were big proponents of the show don't tell approach.
Oh, that's classic storytelling advice.
But it's so important for game masters.
Because you're painting a picture with words.
Instead of just stating facts.
Yeah, like instead of saying, there's a creepy old house.
It's something like,
the house leans precariously, its timbers groaning under the weight of years. The windows are dark, like empty eyes staring out at you. And a faint smell of decay hangs in the air.
ooh, that's much creepier.
Right. It draws you in.
You can feel the creepiness.
You can almost smell it.
And that's the power of showing rather than telling.
You're letting the players experience the world through their senses.
Now, another practical tip that came up
Okay.
was how to integrate the game's rules into your narration.
Because it's easy to just fall into this trap of reciting mechanics.
You rolled a 15, that hits. You deal 6 points of damage.
Yeah, that's so dry.
It takes you out of the story.
It's like reading a spreadsheet.
But the key is to weave the mechanics into your descriptions.
So it's seamless.
So instead of saying, you hit for 6 points of damage,
Yeah.
you could say, your arrow strikes true, piercing the goblin's shoulder. It cries out in pain, clutching the wound as blood spills down its arm. Oh, that's so much better.
Right. You're still conveying the mechanical outcome.
But you're doing it in a way that's engaging and exciting.
It makes the combat feel visceral.
And it gives weight to the player's actions.
Exactly. It shows them that their choices have real consequences in the game world.
Now, shifting gears a bit, we also talk about how narration can be used to entice players to explore.
Oh, yeah. It's not just about describing what's right in front of them.
It's about subtly guiding them towards interesting areas.
Without being too heavy-handed.
Like imagine your players are at a fork in the road.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying left or right.
And you could add a little detail.
Like, to the left, the path winds through a dense grove of trees, their branches heavy with fragrant blossoms. To the right, the path climbs a rocky hillside, offering a glimpse of a distant valley.
Oh, that's good.
You're not telling them which way to go.
But you're giving them a reason to choose one path over the other.
They might be drawn to the fragrant blossoms.
Or the view from the hillside.
And that encourages them to interact with the world.
To make choices.
And to explore.
And speaking of exploration,
Yeah.
one of our sources brought up this idea of believable realism,
Interesting.
even in a fantasy setting.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like, the world needs to feel consistent,
It needs to make sense.
even if it's a world with magic and dragons.
So, like, if two doors look identical,
Yeah.
but one has a much higher break DC than the other,
You need to provide a reason for that difference.
like maybe one door is reinforced with iron bars,
Or it's magically worded.
otherwise it just feels arbitrary.
It breaks the immersion.
So it's important to give those narrative cues.
To explain why things are the way they are.
It makes the world feel more real.
And it rewards players for paying attention to the details.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about bringing the non-player characters and monsters to life.
This is where the real role-playing magic happens.
It's about more than just reading stats from a book.
It's about giving these characters personality.
On motivation.
Even for simple monsters, adding little touches can make a huge difference.
Like, imagine a pack of wolves attacking the players.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, the wolves attack, you could describe them snarling and snapping their jaws, their eyes glowing in the dim light.
You could even have one of them let out a howl that sends chills down the player's spines.
Ooh, that's good. It sets the mood.
It makes the wolves feel like a real threat.
And for NPCs, don't be afraid to really get into character.
Yeah, use different voices.
Mannerisms.
Give them unique personalities.
And remember how they've acted in the past.
It makes them feel like real people.
One of our sources even mentioned how giving simple monsters battle cries or insults can make them more memorable.
Oh, I love that. It adds so much flavor.
Like imagine a goblin charging into battle screaming, "For the boss!"
Or a troll bellowing, "You puny humans!"
It's cheesy, but it's fun.
And it makes the encounters more engaging.
It gives them personality.
Exactly. And speaking of engaging encounters, let's talk about suspense.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Our sources define suspense as that feeling of anticipation and uncertainty.
When you know what you want to happen.
But you don't know how you're going to achieve it.
Or if you're even going to succeed.
And narration is a powerful tool for building suspense.
One of the examples they gave was the classic sickly sweet smell.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like the players are exploring a tomb and they start to smell this cloying, sickly, sweet scent.
It's subtle at first.
But it gets stronger as they go deeper into the tomb.
And it creates this feeling of unease.
Because they don't know what's causing it.
But they know it's probably not good.
And then, boom, mummies attack.
The payoff.
It's that buildup of tension that makes it so effective.
But our sources also cautioned against overusing these kinds of tricks.
Right. If everything is foreshadowed with ominous details,
yeah,
it loses its impact.
it becomes predictable.
So use suspense sparingly.
And make sure it pays off.
And remember that suspense can build over the course of an entire adventure.
It doesn't have to be just moment-to-moment threats.
As the players learn more about the plot,
And the stakes get higher.
the suspense naturally builds. So as we wrap up this deep dive into narration, I think it's clear that it's more than just reading words from a page.
It's a true art form.
It's about bringing the game world to life.
And engaging your players on a deeper level.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
From leading by example with enthusiasm,
To using sensory details to create atmosphere.
to weaving the game mechanics into your descriptions.
To building suspense and enticing players to explore.
So here's a final thought for you. As you prepare for your next game session, think about just one or two of these techniques that you can incorporate into your own storytelling.
Maybe you want to focus on using more sensory details.
Or maybe you want to challenge yourself to show rather than tell.
Whatever it is, experiment
Have fun.
and see what works best for you and your players.
Because at the end of the day, that's what matters most.
Creating a shared experience that everyone enjoys.
And that everyone remembers.
And that's the magic of narration.
The magic of storytelling.
Magic of tabletop RPGs.
So go forth and narrate.
And until next time, keep on diving deep.
See you in the depths.
That's all for today's adventure. Whether you're behind the screen for the first time or the 100th, keep crafting, keep creating, and keep the dice rolling. This is Tabletop Crafters of the Crit Academy. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media platforms at Crit Academy.